So we are sitting in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley.
People of Bangalore are very accepting, and if you see, Bangalore is very cosmopolitan.
Yeah, so I think I have to quote the same reason as why they based ISRO out of Bangalore.
When I moved to Bangalore, I saw a lot of people from around the world. It was a reverse brain drain. I was seeing it happening.
Once I look at the black terminal, my mind switches off. I just want to quit the system.
This guy said, this guy will work in blood. So I said, I may be a killer down the line.
Currently, most labs are not in good health.
I think the government, what they've tried to do is they've tried to set up Mysore as the next growth phase by setting up a super highway between Bangalore and Mysore.
Most platform companies are creating modules of like the same unified platform, so they license individual components.
But the biggest challenge more than this is probably their comparison with software pay scales.
There's a biopharma coming up, biotech coming up. And the story of early 2000, exactly 2001.
India retaining talent as a startup, I have to find really different kind of breed.
If you don't know it, let's say 100 ml of blood, about 45% is red cell, 55% is a yellow color fluid called as plasma.
I just recorded a podcast in Bangalore, India with the CEO of AEGROS, which is a blood plasma company, and founders of Azooka Life Sciences. In this podcast, you will learn everything about biotech scene in India, the unique challenges these founders face while growing their company, what excitement they have about the potential of biotech, and everything in between. So stick around to learn more about the biotech landscape in India. This video is sponsored by SciSpot, the super app for life science labs. It helps labs to become AI ready and bring their scientific innovation to market faster. So we are sitting in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. So I want to start with, if you can share quick thoughts about what's unique about Bangalore, biotech, Bangalore startups.
People of Bangalore are very accepting, and if you see, Bangalore is very cosmopolitan.
Right.
And they are very progressive thinkers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they adapt to anything that's changing very much faster. So I think that's what I like the most about Bangalore. But we chose Bangalore primarily because it's the biotech capital of India. There's a very good ecosystem for biotech companies here. And I think there are around 3 incubators dedicated for biotech and deep tech. So that's something very good about Bangalore, which we don't find anywhere else in India. There are a lot of companies, biotech companies, I think 8,000 plus biotech companies based out of Bangalore.
8,000?
Yes.
Wow.
So I think that's the best part about so we have the infrastructure. Say, for example, for Azooka, right? Primarily, as we all know, biotech needs a lot of instrumentation,
Right.
very huge capital investments. But I think choosing Bangalore and ISC gave us that leverage where we didn't have to invest on investments, invest on instruments. We could associate with an incubator and use their facilities to do our R&D. So that was a real cost saving for us, and it really fast tracked our product development. Right? It really fast tracked our product development. Having been in the biotech space, we actually launched our first MVP in less than 2 years. So I think that's how Bangalore add values to biotech startups.
Very impressive. What's unique about Bangalore? Anything. Can be startup, biotech.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share?
Yeah.
Because I was in Hyderabad, and when I asked someone what's unique about Hyderabad, they said Karachi bakery. I said, that's a good answer.
Yeah. So I think I have to quote the same reason as why they based ISRO out of Bangalore. Okay.
ISRO is Indian Space.
Yeah, ISRO is Indian Space Research
Like
Organization.
NASA.
Yeah, it's the it's the Indian competitor to NASA. So the reason that they said was because ISC's talent pool is in Bangalore. Okay. So that's the reason, because that
is
Indian Institute of Sciences.
Okay.
So they had a aviation wing that from there ISRO was born. Satish Dhawan took it from there, is
Very nice.
what happened.
Yeah.
So I believe that I was based out in Chennai. I was doing software, and that's when we thought that we have to do something in the biotech space. At that point of time, ISC gave us an incubator, got us into an incubator, and that's the reason we chose. And second thing is the Karnataka government has both IT and BT divisions for biotech as well. So if you want to start a business in Bangalore, I think Bangalore is the only place that has something called as an Elevate grant. Okay, so the Elevate grant is a idea to POC grant, which means that you don't even need a proof of concept. You just need an idea to start a company here. Okay, so that is, we also got selected in Elevate. So that kind of gives you somewhere between close to 30 lakhs to 50 lakhs to try out an idea to POC.
30 lakhs in USD.
30 lakhs in Indian INR.
So 30 lakh, how much is it in USD?
How much is it in USD? I have thinking of
Almost about
20, 30,
35.
35,000.
yeah.
35 to 50,000.
So you get this grant from government just based on your idea.
Yes.
Wow. The ChatGPT can create many ideas. Maybe they look at team or some company.
No. But there is a team of people that will kind of see if you have the vision to do it, whether you have the capabilities to do it. There is a team of people who screen you through. But eventually, it is an idea to POC grant, and I think this grant is only available in Karnataka.
In India.
Yeah, in India. Yeah, in India, it's only available by the Karnataka government. So that kind of enabled us to, in the earlier days, to get up from 0 to 1.
Right.
To get there, because earlier days, right, you need all the money you can, especially in a business like biotech, where you're running out of money just in a few experiments.
Right.
So this kind of gives you a runway to do that. And second is the talent pool that comes along with it. So that's the reason. And Bangalore is also a fun, really a fun place compared to other cities, I think.
Yeah, I heard great things about Bangalore nightlife. Never explored it.
No, I was going to get to that. Most of the time he speaks about the weather and the pubs.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do quick intros and learn about your stories. Like how you end up starting your company and what is your story. So we can start with you.
So I'm a molecular biologist at heart. I'm still that. But I do enjoy business now. I think I got the kick of it, of talking to customers and making revenues. But I honestly didn't have a plan of getting into entrepreneurship or starting something of my own. So I was looking at research. I was looking at a full-time research kind of position because that's what I enjoy doing. And so I love bench work. I love problems. I love solving problems, planning experiments and getting them to work. It's something that gives me great joy. But however, I think I have to say that, research job opportunities in India are not very great. So I've had a stint of teaching for some time and I realized teaching was very saturating for me. Teaching without research was something I couldn't do and I didn't get a lot of opportunities here. So I was looking for opportunities outside and that's when he went to meet my mom. We are childhood friends and schoolmates. So he went to meet my mom and my mom apparently told him, she seems to be studying all the time and I don't know when she's going to ever find herself a job or settle in life. And that's how our conversation began. And I do mention this in a lot of places where I speak. Our discussions were something that changed my perspective about research because initial days he used to ask me, I see you struggling in life, your resume is so good, always in the lab. Why do you do all this?
Or tech people think like that.
Why do you do all this? So I said, publications. Okay. What after publications? I said, maybe the cell, the nature, I want some publications there. What after that? I said, citations. So he said, you're trying to tell me that you're burying all your lifelong work into books that people don't understand or a common man doesn't understand. And that's what really got me thinking. And then he said, why don't you do something that you convert your research into products or build something of value that will create impact and touch people's lives? I think it was those conversations that really changed my perspective about life. But I was still skeptical. In fact, he was still in Zoho. He said, I'll invest a little bit of money in you. Let's see what you're able to build. So I made some good progress in 6 months' time. And then,
Zoho is like Microsoft of India, or like how do you say it?
I'll just probably say this about Zoho and let her go. So earlier, most of India was in a services business model. Zoho was only product company.
First product company, $10 billion valuation according to Forbes, completely bootstrapped. Very impressive.
I think they have 3 billion in profit.
Really?
Yes, they have 3 billion plus in profit.
Right. And they're headquartered in some village in South India, right?
Tenkasi.
Tenkasi.
Tenkasi is a small village in South India. So they are headquartered there.
Very inspiring. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the CEO riding his like auto rickshaw. He lives like a proper village guy. But sorry,
I think I've got to hear a lot about Zoho through him, and at Azooka we do follow a lot of. We got inspired to follow their principles to some extent, and yeah, that's how we started off. I said I don't understand business, I can't do business. Then he said I'll help with the business, and that's how we started. Azooka got incubated at IISc. So I take care of the products and the technology part. He takes care of business, branding, marketing. And
then
stuff.
you came up with problem identification solution together later on. Okay.
No, we started with 2 problems because I had already done a lot of work in my PhD on natural dyes. So we thought of, and my passion was in molecular biology. Then we started with the idea of building a solution for scientists from a scientist, building safer, food grade safe dyes and molecules that can light up DNA and RNA. That's how we started with. And later on, we are now an entire genomics solution provider. So through the 9 years we evolved into, we identified that we were a bit early to the market then. People didn't understand what DNA, RNA was. People didn't know what PCR was. It was only after COVID that we started seeing people understand what we are doing and trying to adopt our products.
But your customers do, right? Your customers do understand. It's just, but biotech was not mainstream before COVID.
It was not mainstream before COVID, but there was a big stigma, right? Azooka and both of us have faced a lot of stigma saying that you can't build these kind of products from India. Okay. Have you licensed these molecules from somewhere and are you manufacturing it and developing it? So these were the kind of questions that people used to ask us. Sometimes we've had customers say, no, we buy only premium German products, or we buy only sigma-enriched products. So there was a lot of stigma that we had to really break through to make customers use us. So I think the pandemic gave us that leverage because all doors were closed and we needed Indian solutions at that point in time. There was no option that you could import a lot of other products. And that's how I think our adoption really shot up. Otherwise, the stigma is something that we really have to
think brand India, it will take time to build that Japan level brand, right? So we got our independence 75, less than 80 years ago, right? So country is going through that transition. We have emerging middle class now here, but it will take some time to build that brand, right? Globally, made in India is not considered as very high quality, right? Even the biotech where these ingredients or products are very expensive. So people pick these expensive German products generally, like bioreactors from Sartorius is like 10x of the cost of fermenters you make in India. It's just like a perceived brand, and also they specialize the art, and it's a known name, Sartorius, Thermo, and all these guys. But India, I'm sure in the next decade we will see that with all the startup activities we are seeing in Bangalore and rest of India.
Hoping as well. But I think after COVID, the situation has kind of changed.
Yeah.
It's not as bad.
Because I think India is the largest generic manufacturer.
Yes, India is the largest generic.
It supplies more than 25-30% of the global supply
Yeah.
Generic pharma.
Generic pharma.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. Alex, what is your story, sir?
Oh, yeah. So, hi. I'll introduce myself then.
Yeah.
My name is Alex T. Paul. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Azooka Labs. So before starting Azooka Labs, I was with Soho as Director of Product Management and Marketing, primarily focusing on Soho's brand called Manage Engine. So
Manage Engine.
Manage Engine.
Okay.
So it is a Manage Engine is a separate brand inside Zoho that focuses on IT service management.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of the team that was building IT service management. And then when I met Fatima, I think she had, we were inspired by Sridhar Vembu and Mani Vembu to build something which is world class. I mean, seeing them build, I think one thing that you get working with founders is that you kind of, I got to work with Sridhar Kumar Mani Vembu also. So that gives you kind of an infection, kind of build something
So contagious.
for India, very contagious. So got infected and wanted to build a brand, build a product that will really outlast your lifetime.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that was when we were trying to work on something. And that's when Benazir came and told me that here's my innovation. This is what we are trying to do. I felt that this is a product that India needed at the moment.
Right.
Because as you know, the molecule that she reported was not been reported for close to 46 years.
Right.
And Thermo Fisher had a monopoly in PCR and RT-PCR kits.
Right.
If we had to break it, then we had to make it into a product.
Right.
So although it was an innovation, then you have to build a business around innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How will you really make a business? How will you make it profitable? Is one product enough, or you need a series of products? You need a platform to do that. So my contribution in getting into this game was trying to understand biotech.
Mm-hmm.
Then how can we build a platform there? How can we make one molecule into products that can fit into all the building blocks of molecular biology? That's when I came up with a strategy. That's when we decided, okay, you're going to focus on the science part of it. I'm going to focus on the strategy, making the business, making science sell. Right. So in the business of selling science, boss. So that was the idea in doing this. So we split our responsibilities in that aspect, and we kind of built all the product management functions into biotech,
Mm-hmm.
kind of launching. So most of the time, right, biotech companies won't give you a product until everything is tested.
Right.
But we rolled out a product MVP in 2 years, gave it to customers, and it failed miserably. So
Right.
because earlier days, we were only doing extraction of the molecule. When we gave it out, we found a lot of inconsistencies in the product.
Right.
So that way we had to go back to synthetic chemistry, fix the product with synthetic chemistry, and make sure that there were repeatability, there was dependability, and all the reproducibility.
Right.
All that we had to do in order to fix the product. So
No,
that
totally. Yeah, I think I was speaking with one biotech founder in Hyderabad, and she said we need more suppliers for labs, local suppliers.
yeah.
Right, labs are buying these plastic tips, pipettes from basically importing it from Thermo and paying GST on top of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very expensive for why is it so hard to make these tips locally? Why is it so hard to make these basic reagents or sample collection kits or things that improve shelf life of a sample? I think it doesn't make sense to import everything.
Yeah.
So making in India, especially with that level of talent we have here. The market is here.
Yeah, actually, there is a difference, I would say. The idea is, the tips, all of them are replicas of technologies that are already there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that is not innovation. So
Right.
Innovation is coming up with an approach that is drastically different from what was existing earlier. I mean, you could really make a product which is, say, for example, all the plastics, if you want to make, there are no patents. Anybody can make it. If you have a 3D printer, you could come up with the first set of prototypes, and then you could go into a large scale manufacturing setup. So that is actually not innovation. It is actually economical shifting the economies of scale from one location to another location.
Totally.
So what we wanted to do was an impact based. So for what we call as a first principles company.
Right.
Okay, if I develop this molecule of how you can bind to DNA and how you can light up DNA, that is going to change the way in which how PCR kits are going to be done when it is safer.
Right.
Okay, so we have a minor groove binder, which is drastically different from what was intercalators, which were already there. So we had to bring a difference to the game, which was altogether different, and we wanted to make this kind of an impact. I told you, right? Kind of retracing the path of in vitro gen. So right now, what in vitro gen tried to do was, there are no molecules they wanted to complete the spectrum of having molecules to fluorophores to bind to all the building blocks of molecular biology so that you could visualize it, so that you could understand what is going on inside the building blocks of biology. So that becomes a base for all the research work that's going to come. So by the time they touch proteins, they got acquired by Thermo Fisher, and Thermo Fisher tried to complete that with different acquisitions. Okay, but eventually, I think they have a portfolio, but eventually everything is biohazardous and bought from different companies. What we have developed is a food grade safe dye for all the different applications. So that was the kind of difference we wanted to bring in. And that too, innovation first is the...
I think it's very novel. So we need people inventing things too. But also we need local enablers, suppliers on top of it. So totally with you. We will talk more about your journey from Zoho to biotech.
Yeah.
And looks like you can speak biologically really well, right? You're using all those right jargon. So love it. Ranjeet, so what's your story?
Yeah, well, let me start a little, not with my own journey. So my parents came from undivided India. My father, 5 rupees in his pocket, and he came to India in the thick of partition time. And of course, I was born much later, but I saw his journey of struggle, resilience, and making it happen. And that when I came to this world, my first few years were very wonderful, very good childhood. But along with the journey, he lost everything in the business. And then I saw extreme poverty when I was 6.5 years old. And I do remember very vividly, I wanted to have a Poppins of 15 paisa. And my parents say they can't afford it. It left a very impressionable thing in my mind, and that memory is still photographic in my mind, how Poppins looked like and 15 paisa. That stayed with me. And that did help me in my social sensibilities and financial sensibilities of life. And of course, there's a huge price tag to it that my mother became a psychiatric patient of all this happening around. So that still left a very profound impact, that what money can do to people and what people can do to money. So that was a great learning which I learned in my first 13 years of my life. And of course, then as I was growing up, I was a Boy Scout. And during my Boy Scout time, I was told to do every day a good turn so that you can go to bed and sleep peacefully. That again stayed with me. And as I traveled along with the journey of my life, to be very honest, I wanted to be a teacher, nothing else. I didn't want to do anything in my life. But all of us, we know our journeys, we don't know the destinations of life, where it will take us. So I enjoyed this journey. To cut the chase, interesting thing, when I was in Indore, growing up in Indore, a friend of mine, in my religion, we don't make the horoscopes. So she took me to an astrologer. He make horoscope for this guy as well. So this guy said, this guy will work in blood. So I said, I may be a killer down the line. And, many times people, when they ask me, I said, probably I wanted to prove the astrologer was right. So today I work in blood space. So after Indore, I moved to Bombay, did my PhD at Biomedical Engineering School at IIT Bombay. I was in the first batch of Biomedical Engineers of India. Had a great time, greatly enjoyed the campus life, and I was very, very active academically and non-academically, I would say. But nothing can be better than IIT campus as far as I go for the learning part and understanding the world and seeing the world from my naked eyes. And I had wonderful mentors, teachers, friends, and I made friends for the world for my lifetime. So I completed my PhD from IIT Bombay. And I sent my actually CV to NIH in the US. And fortunately, the professor to whom I sent was getting retired. So he sent my CV to his next door neighbor professor. So when I got his offer, I was a bit surprised. I never wrote to this guy, and how did I get the offer? And this is the time of postal mails, not the emails or the mobile. So the postal mail would take good 20 days to reach, and you reply another 20 days to go. So eventually I went to the US and started working and set up the understanding the mechanism of aging, what happens during the aging processes, how the cognitive function gets changed, and so on and so forth. So NIH was very keen to understand the change in the properties of blood, which impacts the aging and in turn the cognitive function, physiological function. So I set up the biomechanical lab of aging in the NIH at National Institute of Aging. While doing all this work, I had a great time in the US as well. But my heart was still in India. I wanted to enjoy the chaos, the randomness, everything in India. I didn't want to live a very programmed life. With due respect to the life was very great, wonderful in the US, but somewhere my heart was in the India and I wanted to come back and, be here. And I came back to India again as a teacher, faculty at PGI Chandigarh, and I thought my life is set for everything and now I can retire from PGI. But that honeymoon was very short-lived. Very soon I realized I'm really not cut to work for a very government establishment because of my own style of work, my own mental makeup. And very soon I resigned. And very interesting part I want to say, I returned to India against the wishes of my parents and loved ones. They said, when everyone is going that side, why are you returning? People are chasing to go and you have everything on the plate, both husband and wife and we were raising a young daughter. But I said, no, I wanted to come. So actually I returned and I could never convince my parents that return is good. Unfortunately, I lost them before I could make it a little better. So now I became teacher at PGI Chandigarh, which is one of the best medical schools of India. But as I said, I was there for a very short period of time and I took plunge into the corporate life. And I think when I was doing this work, somewhere along the line, I realized there's a biopharma coming up, biotech coming up, and it's story of early 2000, exactly 2001. I thought it's a good space to work. Roads are not really paved, so something, which you can do. And I wanted to actually, walk on very unknown terrain, a lot of adventure, a lot of kick. And that's how I landed up working into the blood plasma space and was very fortunate to work with wonderful people. And then we could set up the first modern blood bank of that time in India. And I could say with a sense of pride that we trained a lot of people in this country on the account of modern blood banking, safe blood banking. And going from there, we realized what is the challenge with the plasma products in India and how do we deal with it. So that's how my journey started from a small town in Madhya Pradesh, Indore, and, traveled to Bombay to US, back to India, but it was all great. And that's where I am.
You love it. And now you are the CEO of?
I work as a CEO of an Australian company, AEGROS, based out of Sydney. So I shuttle between Sydney, Singapore, and Bangalore. And my hardcore work is into the blood and plasma product. And many times I tell people, if I lose this job, I don't know anything else. I have to open a restaurant and that's about it.
How do you say the company name again?
AEGROS, AEGROS.
So we'll learn more about it.
Sure.
In a bit. But I want to learn more about Azooka Life Science, right? What is the problem you identified? Why it even exists? Why we needed Azooka Life Science? A little bit about the company from both of you.
We looked at solving the problem of eliminating biohazards from labs. So that was the first goal. The common molecule, which is called as ethidium bromide, which is mostly used in all the labs. Is a carcinogen, a mutagen, and a biohazard. So a lot of times people used to ask us, it's only for the scientists who work with it or the technicians who work with it. But we've seen that most of the times people handle with their gloves, they go touch computers, they contaminate other areas, they contaminate the environment, and thereby it also poses a risk for others who are associated with them, as well as the environment. So that was the first problem we tried to eliminate. I have an experience of working in my PhD on natural dyes. So we used to, I think somewhere my PhD gave me that perspective, because we had a sociology professor who used to say that science shouldn't be inside the lab. It should be to solve problems in the society. So that's how my PhD was on the art and making of a very mats, and grass mats in a small village called Pathamadai.
Right.
So these mats have been used as gifts to Queen Elizabeth and whatnot, because they process and do the mats, weave the mats in such a way that they have a very silky texture.
What's math?
Mat.
Mat.
Mats.
Okay.
So they have a very silky texture, and you can just fold it and put it in your pocket. Okay. So it was so we try to understand the science behind the art. So that was my PhD about.
But mat is, sorry, I'm asking.
A yoga mat, or a mat that you can
like
spread.
a fabric.
A fabric
And how is
made
it
of
related
grass.
to the dyes?
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to. So it was a very small community who were artisans of these mats, and it was dying. The art was dying, so we tried to revive this by providing them some scientific methods and scientific approaches to make their mats better, by providing them with usage of natural dyes so that it gained some worldwide acceptance.
Manufactured dyes?
No, naturally occurring dyes, not biomanufactured.
Like plant extracts?
Plant extracts. Okay. So that's what we gave them a lot of suggestions, and FRHLT, they tried to cooperate with them and took the mats on a global scale later on. So I've had a lot of experience with natural dyes. So because I was trying to understand the science, during some experiments, I've also seen that these natural plant extracts were able to stain cells, they were able to stain DNA and so on. I forgot about it after my PhD, to be very honest. It was only after this conversation, it really struck me that, there is something like this, and this is a real problem, and we can solve the problem with these natural molecules.
And the main problem statement here is that most dyes in the lab are hazardous in nature.
Yes, all the dyes in the lab, especially DNA binding molecules, are hazardous. There have been only 30 to 40 molecules that have been identified in the past 60 years that have the capability to bind to DNA and RNA, of which only 5 have been commercially exploited, being cyanines and thiazoles. Both of these are carcinogenic and mutagenic, and all the commercial products that we have today are derivatives of either cyanines or thiazoles. So there are no other class of dyes that are being used in nucleic acid binding.
And using your dyes will make labs more sustainable. That's the pitch.
Yes, more sustainable.
I see, and they don't have to worry about like whole disposal process.
Handling and disposal, no.
Because I think in different states, even the US, they have their own requirements. You cannot exceed some type of hazardous chemical more than whatever is the threshold.
Not only that, even in transport, we want to transfer that biohazardous substance versus a food grade substance. The cost is like 70 to 80% more for a biohazardous substance.
Why? You have to store them differently?
Yeah, because of the precautions that you have to take when you transport a biohazard. When you want to transport a food grade substance, there are no precautions to be taken. So
and also, it's a very complex process to obtain the license of biohazard management. So you have to have the license to have a disposal, then you have a vendor, then you have to have a written contract and make sure that you have given the X material gets disposed of in a way, the way the company has asked for. So it's a very complex protocols and the regulatory norms around it. So in India, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, you'll spend more storing it.
That's
you'll
right.
spend more using it. You'll spend more disposing it. So it was also that is also an economic advantage by switching over to safer dyes.
Makes sense. And who are the real beneficiaries? What type of labs?
Any molecular biology lab or any life sciences lab that deals with DNA. I think now all of life sciences research, be it plant, animal, environmental, food safety testing, everybody is moving on to DNA-based evaluation methods and PCR-based methods. Anything that has to do with DNA and RNA, can use our dyes because they are already using Ethereum bromide or cybergreen.
Right.
And dyes are the basis of most companies. If you look at GE, GE Life Sciences, they got
Like General Electric.
GE, yeah.
Yeah.
So GE got changed. GE Life Sciences, the name was changed to Cytiva, a company called Cytiva. The reason they got Cytiva is because of their CY dyes, cyanide dyes.
Right.
Okay, because most of the time the device is used only one time. The dyes are the ones, or the consumables as we call it, are used repeatedly. So the core of the GE business is based on the CY dyes or CY dyed immersion dyes. So the dyes is the core part of their business, and that's why the company is named like that.
That is a very good problem to solve, but I don't want to sound like a VC or investor. But like, what is the defensibility here, right? So, like, why is it so hard for your competitors or someone working from their garage to create these bio-manufactured dyes that are not hazardous in nature?
No, people have been trying. They have been trying. There has been a want for these kind of molecules from the past 40 years. And there has been a lot of work that went into, say, for example, Sigma Aldrich tried a variant called Nancy 520, which really failed in the market. The problem is the property of binding to DNA and fluorescing is an inherent property of the molecule, of specific molecules. So which is not very common in nature, and it is not very easy to crack or just to cook it up. So it has to be an inherent property of the molecule. And that's why it's been really challenging. So say, for example, there is another competition which tried to launch a safer version called Gel Red. They claim safety primarily because it doesn't penetrate your cells. But it's not that the molecule in itself is not safe.
They will watch it too.
Yeah. No, I think...
know your sales pitch. I would count the message very
No, that was the first problem we tried to solve. Anyway, but we have reported a new class of molecules which don't belong to these hazardous classes, which are technically superior in terms of the way they bind to DNA. Sometimes why are they mutation causing? Because of the way they interact with DNA. Right. So when the molecules interact very strongly with DNA, then they change the structure of the DNA, they alter the structure of the DNA, and that's why they are mutation causing.
I see.
Okay. So we have a class of molecules which don't bind that strongly with the DNA, but still are able to fluoresce on interacting with DNA, not very strongly. And that's why the molecules are more superior to what is already there in the market.
That is a very important feature for when you're multiplexing tests. Okay, when you're doing a multiplexing test, you have to take the same sample and run it through different tests. I'm sure. Yeah. Whereas if you use an intercalator, in the first run, you're going to intercalate the sample and make it useless for the next run.
Sample integrity is maintained.
Yeah.
It's very useful, especially when you have very limited sample and you want to have the reproducibility. At the same time, you want to archive it as well for the regulatory purpose. So this makes life much easier on the account of reproducibility as well as archiving the samples.
That was the first problem we tried to solve.
Yeah.
So we have some patents, 4 patent grants on these molecules.
4 countries we've got the patent grant. US, Japan, Korea, India, we've got the patent grant.
Europe treaty, you can get patent in multiple countries.
Pardon me?
Is there any treaty between these countries
No.
Get it done by one application?
No, usually it can't be done by one application, but usually the patent approach is such that you can file for a patent cooperation treaty called as PCT, which gives you protection in 60 countries for 30 months. Right. So that's kind of a time that you get to really decide on which markets you want to operate, so that you need not file patents in all the countries.
But nothing goes public during that process.
Nothing goes public during that process. It's kind of a provisional filing, but it gives you the priority date and it gives you the protection. And once the 30-month period is done, then by that time you have to file individual patents in different countries. So there's not one application. That's quite an expensive process. quite an expensive process where we burned our hands. And that's the reason why we decided that we will not apply for patents for our sample collection kits.
Keep it a trade secret.
Yes, we keep it as a trade secret. So so it was a strategic decision that we took, that we are not going to file for patents. We'll have them as trade secrets. Although most of our platform and technology is patentable, we decided not to patent it.
How did you end up as the CEO of this company?
I think, Guru, I'll go a little back. This is my fourth assignment, after I came back to India. But I'll take you through my actual work has happened in India. So I will rather focus that, and then I'll definitely come to this part as well. So
I'm asking this because people want to know how can they become the CEO. So I want to know CEO.
Accidentally. Well, if you look in late 80s and early 90s, the world has seen for the first time what happened is the HIV AIDS. Right. And we all was shell-shocked, frozen in the flame. We did not know what is happening to people. And that memory, that time, if you Google it today, is heart-wrenching, and it's unbelievable what people have gone through it. And if you go a little deeper into it, there were many routes through the HIV came to human beings, but one of the challenge was the blood products, blood and blood product. So I think I'll keep my discussion around blood and plasma product, but there are other routes like, the sexual contact and the drugs and so on and so forth. So late 80s, early 90s, globally, millions of people contracted HIV, which they even translated into full-bloom AIDS. And they died like, you cannot really go through those stories, and there's the AIDS memorial if you Google out. And you see 13 year, 15 year, 26 year, 28 years, and so on and so forth. And it's not only happened in one part of the world. It happened globally. So it happened in India as well. One of the major challenges at that point in time was the paid donation. In India, at that point in time, one can go to a blood bank and get paid in the lieu of blood donation. Right. So it was a paid, remunerated activity. Post-AIDS, all over the world, the payment against the blood was stopped globally. So it happened in India. So in 1996, a organization called NACO, National AIDS Control Organization, was structured in India to take care of safe blood operations in India. And one of the mandate was no paid donation. Now you cannot pay for the donation of blood. And the reason given was, when you pay somebody for the donation of blood, there could be a hidden agenda. Somebody may hide its social histories. When you go to donate the blood, they ask you, your demographical detail, but also social history. And in that social history, they do probably look for if you have multiple sexual partners, if you use drug, if you have a blood transfusion yourself, have you done tattooing, etc. They want to make sure the blood which you are donating is safe for the patient, for the recipient, right? So this was one part. That is the quality of blood. You want to make sure that your blood is safe when it is given to the patient, because eventually you are giving the blood to the patient to save the lives, right? That was the whole purpose. The quality was very important issue. But in India, if you look that time around late 90s and early 2000, the rate of blood donation was very low and still very low. According to WHO, at least 1% of population must donate the blood to cater to the particular country. But India at that point in time was having very low rate of donation. So there were multiple cases, people losing their life, especially women, those who are in the labor, in the small villages, non-urban setting, blood is not available. And you will see multiple reports, multiple cases where people lost their life not because of disease, but because of hemorrhagic condition. So collection of blood voluntary was one challenge. Second, the adequate amount of blood supply should be there. And also we have to remember that the blood is not available on shelf. Eventually, you have to motivate people of the country to donate the blood. So that was a second challenge in India, which means the demand was very high, but supply was very low. And to take care of it, the quality part was to make to deal with the fact that where the problem lies. So one is the testing of blood. That means when you are donating the blood, your blood is tested for HIV 1 and 2, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, syphilis and malaria. But once you've done the testing, but if the labels are not correct, what will happen? Or if the cross-matching doesn't go very well, which means the donor's blood and the recipient blood, if it's not matched in the sense of the blood groups. And when you do everything manually, there's a challenge. There's a huge chance of human error. So this was a third challenge which we are facing. And the last and very important, you are low on the supply, but you are high on the demand. That means using the blood most judiciously is not only your scientific obligation, but even the medical obligation. That every drop of donated blood must be used very judiciously, which means the 1 unit of blood, when you donate, conventionally what used to happen in India in early 2000, if you see, 1 unit of blood goes to one patient, right? But this is 20, 25, 30 years back, it has already done in West, where you divide the blood into 4 components. Red blood cells, platelets, plasma, and cryoprecipitate. And these units, with a very small technological intervention, not rocket science, you simply divide the blood into 4 components, stored at a particular temperature in a particular way, and you can help 4 patients, 4 different categories of patients.
Based on the density?
Based on not necessarily density, but yeah, you separate basically based on the, the way you separate the blood component on the centrifugation process, right? So now the plasma part, which means if you donate, let's say 100 ml of blood, about 45% is red cell, 55% is a yellow color fluid called as plasma, right? Now, clinically, this plasma has about 1,000 proteins, but identified about 300 and commercially exploited about 20, which means this plasma is a powerhouse of proteins. And if you can separate these proteins from the plasma, you can save many lives. So what we transited from 1 patient to 4, now 4 to many. So in India, in early 2000, the whole blood therapy was rampant. There were hardly any blood banks amongst 2,000 blood banks in India. They were not practicing component therapy. Everyone whole bloods, no component preparation. So you are already low on the supply, high on the demand. On the top of it, unfortunately, you don't divide the blood. So a lot of people used to lose the life for non-availability of blood, and second, on the safety part. So we thought, when I took my first assignment in Ahmedabad, that we must set up, quote unquote, a modern blood bank, not for India, for entire Southeast Asia, where we will follow 4 principles. First, we will not go by the, we will go by the voluntary blood donation. We will not ask for the replacement of blood. Because when you ask for a replacement of blood, eventually you are holding a patient on the ransom, that you give me the blood in lieu of it, otherwise I will not issue.
Right.
And already, when a patient comes to you, it's already psychologically, mentally compromised. So you do not want to add one more problem to his already existed problem. So that is what we did first. Second, we said all the blood will have barcodes to make sure the human intervention is minimized. And we were the first to do it in India. And a lot of people at that point in time discouraged us. And they told me to the extent that, Ranjeet, you are looking at this entire problem very romantically. It will not work in India. So please don't close your bank accounts. One day you'll go back, because this is not going to happen in India. And now today, every 4,000 blood banks have barcodes. So this is an impressive journey if we look the way India has traveled through. So second principle was to make blood products safe for preparation as well as for the disposal. Third, the blood banking setup was very rudimentary, not a management driven, where it's on the software, everything is controlled. So we made a program for ourselves, because there was no company in India at that point in time making software for blood bank. Right. So that's what we did. And the very important part, we contacted many people in India to make a software for our blood bank, but we couldn't find a single one. So we contacted a company in Georgia, Atlanta, and he asked for the fee for the total project budget. And we said we can't afford it. So it's an Indian story. We made the project, this software for India. Very cheap. I can't tell you the price, but you will not believe the number. And it worked very well on Oracle 8 platform. So that was third thing. And fourth and the last, we said we will not issue the whole blood if not clinically offered. We will only issue the component. And we had a huge problem. It wasn't technology adoption. All the doctors were trained to use the whole blood. And we were saying, don't use the whole blood. And I remember one of the very interesting episode that we got a call from a particular doctor, very leading doctor in Ahmedabad. We need the blood. So we didn't send in the blood. We sent the plasma. And very late in the night, 8:39 in the night, I get a call from him. Very furious, very angry. He says, how come your blood has become white in color? And we said, we have not sent you the blood. We have sent you the plasma. So because the kind of surgery you have to do tomorrow, you need only plasma. You don't need the whole blood. He said, do you know my subject more than anybody? I said, no. We don't know your subject very well. You are the master. But please give us the benefit of doubt that we also know our subject well. So I'll come tomorrow and talk to you. He was very furious. I went the next day morning. He was like, This was his tone and pitch. And I said, sir, you don't need the whole blood. You need the plasma for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons. He said, I need the fresh blood. Just fresh blood. I said, there's no concept in science of fresh blood. It's not a fresh pizza or a fresh ice cream. You need a safe, well-tested blood, which is what we have provided you. And clinically, that's what you needed. Now this doctor has become friend for my life. So it was a very big challenge of not technology, but adoption of technology to human behavior. And at that point in time, probably I would have delivered 300 talks across the country to make sure that the doctors get well educated not to use the whole blood, but to use the component so that we get the plasma for making the plasma products. And at that point in time, if you look, India was importing 100% plasma product. All the plasma product which are listed as essential medicine in WHO catalog, and they save the lives of rare disease patients. We were 100% import dependent, and now India is 50% self-reliant.
Right.
So this is the 25 years of journey where the regulation has evolved, where technology has come together. It has been adopted by the doctors. So I think what I see a very impressive journey of India, not for India itself, for we could change this entire thing in entire Southeast Asia. And we made an organization called as a SATM, South Asian Association of Transfusion Medicine, where our all neighbors, SAARC nations, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, Pakistan, we train them that please do not use the whole blood. So I think this is the Indian story. This is the contribution of India where we did everything. We took all the risks. We changed the regulation. And now we are able to help patients not within India, but to these countries as well.
Love it.
So I think this is where I see, the Indian, the contribution of India to the blood transfusion and plasma product. And the CEO story comes late.
That's what I want to know. No, but even like if you think like Zoho has Zoho One, like entire platform. Like in SciSpot, we have lab operating system, but most platform companies are creating modules of like the same unified platform. So they license individual components. Right? So when Ranjeet was talking about providing blood, more components of it, rather than providing the whole, I think it makes sense. Even in, I know this is not a software, but in any business, you can just compartmentalize and provide exactly what is needed. It's very innovative for that time.
Sure.
Like few decades ago, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
More than innovative, I see people were very apprehensive.
Right.
Right. As good as my parents were very apprehensive, this guy is coming from the US, what he will do in India, and same what you said, Fatima, that, parents have their own inhibition when probably they all the time underestimate their kids, right? But they hold huge potential. Now, unfortunately, my parents are not around and I miss them terribly. But yes, I think, so it was a very important part. To develop a good technology is very important, but to make sure that it gets accepted, it gets adopted. So I think you have to think globally, but make sure your technology is locally adopted.
Right.
You are able, see, technology, whatever you do, eventually should make a difference in the lives of community where you live. It must be socially relevant. See, it may sound a very great idea of a PhD thesis that through second order differential equation, you want to solve the poverty of India. Very good. Probably you may get Nobel Prize for this PhD. But would really it solve the problem of poverty of India? Answer is no.
Right.
So I genuinely believe the power of technology is huge. We live in the world of technology. But this technology must uplift the life of human being in one way or the other. And that's the actual contribution of technology. And that is where I come from, right? From the technology perspective. So now come to the CEO part. I think this was probably, I debated a lot with my colleagues at that point in time. I said, I'll be more happy as a chief scientific officer than CEO of the, company. I'm still not very comfortable at counting the money and the numbers and the Excel sheets, right? And I find you change one column and everything changes in the Excel sheet, but in life, it doesn't happen that way, right? So I was not very comfortable. But what happened is I took a long trip to the Europe in 2003. I was there for almost 37 days and visited many plasma fractionating company because there was no Google got that time to help me what's happening in different parts of the world.
Or ChatGPT.
Not ChatGPT as well. So I said, how do I learn how to collect the plasma? How to store the plasma? All the challenges what you are seeing. And it looked like a very romantic story.
Right.
Right. And I must give a lot of credit to, big companies of this world. They opened the door for me, despite knowing the fact that I want to do something in India. So I must really acknowledge that they played a very significant role in this journey. They opened the door. I went for 1 day. They gave me 2 days. Okay, come and see this, see that. So I think this is again human interaction, which is very important. They didn't close the door. They opened the door. And I feel this is a very, very remarkable part of human life, where when we look at the patient suffering, we all come together. We do not look at the geographical boundaries. We do not look at ROIs and the numbers. We look at patient life as no price tag. And if you can save one patient, and if it happens to be you, it's more precious. So I think that was a great learning in this 37 days. So what happened when I came back to India and started making the business plan? So my boss said, Ranjeet, you changed the religion. Now from science, you have become a business manager. And I said, is it a complaint or a compliment? He said, you take it whichever you want. So he said, then, okay, from tomorrow you become CEO of the company. So that's how my transition from CSO to CEO was overnight on that account. But yes, great learning. I think people may very romanticize the business and the position of CEO. But trust me, if I can say on this forum, CEOs are really nothing. They are good, highly paid clerks, and they manage the companies, and that's about it.
How big is the company?
My current company is, we are about 150 people.
Wow, okay.
And we have a plant in Australia right now. And we are under the clinical evaluation of a new technology after 80 years. And hopefully, if it goes well, we will change the world one more time from the technology point of view, where we'll improve the yield multifold, we'll increase the safety margin multiple times, and those plants will be tailor-made, right? Because a country like Sri Lanka cannot afford to have that amount of plasma which is required by the conventional way, right? So we need the plants which are smaller in nature, but financially and technically viable and sustainable. So that's what my main focus is at the moment.
Makes sense. Any advice for startup CEOs, startup CXOs?
I think one advice I would say, don't take anybody's advice. All our journeys are very individual in nature. I have not lived your life. You have not lived my life. I have not seen your challenges. You have not seen mine. I think all of us do our best to our abilities. And I'm sure we will reach where we are supposed to reach. But all I can say, what worked in my favor, not I will say it works in everyone's favor. I got a wonderful team to work with. And with a great sense of pride, I will say, I was able to maintain the rate of attrition in last 25 years, less than 1%. So people really did not leave me. And most of the time when they left, these were girls, those who were getting married, they had to leave. But otherwise, I was extremely fortunate. People have worked with for all 25 years, from the day one till the time I'm talking to you. So your team is the strength. So one more time, I'll go back to the human resource. That many of the time we probably give extra emphasis on technology and our skill sets. I would say we should pay a lot of attention to human side. And that's the most impressive at the end of the day.
Right.
If you look, you have 4 bad computers and a wise, smart programmer. He will make use of 4 those
Right.
computers. But if you have a supercomputer and a dumb programmer, those supercomputers are useless.
Right.
So it's a human power of our stories in technology will play still more significant role. Though we are talking about ChatGPT, we are talking about AI, we are talking about MIL. But I very genuinely believe the God which has made this human machine, probably it will never be replaced. It will remain unique. It will remain relevant. And I hope, this story will remain for life.
Love it. You mentioned low attrition. Generally, most startups see their companies or their teams like sports team, right? And if you see any sports team, they have to move players or replace players because goal of any sports team is to win, right? So like businesses or especially in context of startup, you don't compare it with family, right? This is Netflix, right? Very Netflix culture. They hire exceptional people. They pay them really well, and they want to win every match. And what are your thoughts about it, right? So because you have to let people go sometimes and replace them with players that help you win more matches.
I see that partly true, not in complete totality of it. First time, many of the times if you see the hiring processes, they are done on a very need base. Right? What skill set XYZ has, I want to use it and you hire it. I do not see the potential and possibilities in that individual. Right? So while hiring, we have to be very careful. Are you hiring a right guy who will stay with you, who is looking beyond CTC, who is looking beyond perks? So that degree is very critical. And as I said, I was very lucky to hire those people. That's the one part. Secondly, as a leader, your responsibility is not only lives with the technology, to understand the compassionate, the human side of each one of us. All of us want to lead a very meaningful, fulfilling life. Each one of us. And if we are not able to answer that question of your junior, somewhere you are failing as a leader. So that's the second part. And third, I think we must incentivize the performance. But more importantly, we must de-incentivize people, those who are not working. We don't do it. We drag it. We say, okay, if it's not doing, let's give 1 month, 2 months. We do not give honest feedback. We do not make an eye contact as a leader that, my dear friend, wonderful job you have done so far. Great. This is where you are not doing well. If it doesn't go well, we need to figure out a way. I think that kind of transparency, that kind of eye-to-eye contact is very important as a leader. And I very genuinely believe a leader should be above fear and favor. If a leader feels, oh my God, if this guy leaves, what I'll do tomorrow, then you are really not a leader. You must pull up the socks, you must fold the sleeves and say, okay, if this guy goes tomorrow, I'll mop the floor. I'll do the pipetting in the lab. So again, one more time, it goes to a skill set. And I think if you are very confident as a leader of your own craft, your own knowledge, your wisdom, all this comes along with it. But if you yourself is very shaky on the shaky ground, you are really not able to do that iteration part, what I say.
Right.
So I think it's important for us to remember there's a human side in all our corporate life, but at the same time, our goals, our targets, they are non-negotiable. They are well fixed. But how to cover this journey is a craft of a leader. I think that's where I would say.
What about you guys? Importance of team and
We have a different take on the attrition part. So what we try to do in the earlier part of the journey is that we try to hire people from ISC to kind of contribute and along with us in the journey. But the problem with the entire Indian setup is that you are told from an young age that you are a success that is after you study in a top Ivy League school, that you must get your job outside India. Okay, whether you want to call it the societal status or how parents perceive it, or I don't know how the society itself has triggered that you are a success only if you settle in a country like the US or Europe or any other country, Australia or even New Zealand. Okay, but not in India. So what happens is, I mean, we hire people and we train them for 2-3 years, and after that they either going to study abroad or they get a job abroad or they want to settle out. So that is the problem when you hire, try to hire from institutes like Indian ISE or from IIT or any other place.
Retaining is very hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem is if you want to retain somebody, either you must have a branch in the US so that they have a possibility of the headroom for growth is there. So they believe that you are a global company. So eventually you're going to get an opportunity abroad, or you eventually have to lose them because every top institute or even not from top institute, you're taught at a very young age that success is not in India. You have to find it outside India. So that is a problem sometimes when it comes to retaining top talent in India. So I feel that
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
you cannot fight this. I think.
No, I agree, Alex. Part of the story is absolutely correct, and you are there. I think what India has done over the last 3-4 decades, we have produced a lot of doctors, engineers, chartered accountants, fund stars, global fund stars, whatnot. Right? They've lit the screen. Yeah. But we were not able to produce, quote unquote, this doctor plus citizens of this country who will contribute to the growth trajectory of India. So there is a flaw with the entire system, what you said, and I completely agree to it, that most of the time the parenting mechanism has become to cross the borders rather than actually making them socially skilled and contributing to this part and growth part of this country. That's a problem with our not educational system, but societal perception of the status and, grossly greener on the other side. That's very true. But having said that, in my 30 years of corporate life as a CEO, I have seen leaders most of the time very insecure, very inefficient, very incompetent, and they want to touch the moon. So I think there has to be a reasonability in the entire game. I've seen, quote unquote, lot of filthy money, 12th grader guiding 15 PhD guys. Where is the motivation? Where is the drive? See, in all our lives, I want to look up to somebody as an individual, as a human being, as a professional. And if I look up to something, I'm not undermining the 12th grade. What I'm trying to say, that psychological need, that intellectual eco board is required for us to grow. So it's very important. And some of the good companies, if you look at in India, they are doing extremely well. Right?
In retaining talent?
Retaining talent.
Right.
But again, it's a huge challenge. I'm absolutely 200% agree with you. But where the leaders play a very significant role. I mean, they know the person who serves the tea, what is his wife's name. And I must admit, in my 12 years as a CEO in a company in Bangalore,
right,
my best buddy was a lady who used to serve me coffee. Right. She will know I like thick dosas. She'll get a butter from home, cook a dosa for me. I was never able to speak Kannada. She was never able to speak to Hindi and English. But 12 years I worked with her. Wonderful co-work. Wonderful co-work.
Makes sense.
So it's a very important to build that connect and develop.
He stated the problem, but I should intervene here to say how we are actually managing. So
right.
We've had great people working with us. Yes. For us, attracting talent is not a problem. Sometimes, like Alex said, retaining talent is sometimes an issue. But how we've been able to manage is primarily by having a flat hierarchy at Azooka. So
Yes.
we don't have hierarchy at Azooka.
Very true.
So we, all of us do everything like you said. Sometimes I shift roles. Sometimes Alex has to play another role, or my team members or our team members play different roles. So that's one thing. And we try to, the biggest challenge more than this is probably their comparison with software pay scales and the software kind of remuneration that
Right.
keeps disturbing them. So it, like you rightly said, right? we need to establish that personal connection with them, be concerned about their personal stuff, their problems, their issues. Sometimes, right, we have circumstances where sometimes people have a personal issue that's not letting them perform properly. So we usually go have discussions with them. We give them some suggestions. So it's kind of that kind of a bonding really helps us to retain that kind of a
I
talent.
think giving people autonomy,
Yes.
making them feel heard,
Yes.
helps a lot. And what Alex mentioned is also very true, because India is still emerging economy, so it's very status driven, status
Yes.
focused, right? So people go after big logos, big brands, and they care about what other things more, because like West is still very individualistic society, right? They sometimes do the job, that's how it should be, to follow their passion, right? So they join the startup just to really get that rush, right? But in India, retaining talent as a startup, I have to find really different kind of breed, because emerging economy is still very middle class mindset. So people go after big brands, big logos. So yeah, but
You had a specific example of this. One of our best performers who initially developed the product. So he had to quit, saying that they are looking for brides and they want me to a bride and they want
Very
me
true.
to work in a company
Yeah.
like Biocon.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, very true.
he had no other choice, but you wouldn't believe he came home. He was in tears while leaving. He said, "I honestly don't want to leave
we
this
need to
place,
get married.
but I have to.
Yes.
But I have no other choice now. I have a lot of.
This is
pressure
very
from home."
unique to India, no?
Yeah, very unique. In fact,
So very unique reason sometimes.
in fact, today's date they ask for the salary slips.
Yeah.
Earlier you asked for the horoscope. Today they ask for salary slips.
No, actually, I have gone through a lot of pain in the earlier days when I was working with AdventNet. Zoho was earlier called AdventNet. Okay, so there were people who used to make fun. At that point of time, Zoho was in a place called Macronet. It was in the same complex as a Macronet bakery in Kashyap Enclave.
Okay.
So the Macronet board was quite big, and the AdventNet board was very small. And a couple of my known people will come and tell me, "Why are you working for a company that can't afford to keep their name board?" Okay,
Yeah.
look at the Macronet baker. Okay, that's bigger. So, but we used to believe that at that point of time, product management didn't take off. So eventually, every relative used to question, "Why didn't you get a job in Infosys, Wipro, or CTS?" So until Zoho hit the $1 billion club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And after that, everything is okay. But I think
Now it's easier for them.
yeah, now it's
Yeah,
easier
absolutely.
to do
Yeah.
that. So I think in the earlier days of the
It was difficult.
there are a lot of social, economic, a lot of problems.
I do want us to spend some time learning more about your founding story, right? Because when you start something from scratch, you're basically fighting the status quo, right? In your case, status quo was like all dyes are hazardous in nature, right? So that's one of the status quo. So you're fighting, right? So your odds are not very high to make it. So it's a very painful process to start something from scratch. You have to be a little bit crazy or a weirdo to start something. Otherwise, doing a job is very comfortable, right? Getting salary end of the month with full certainty. It's very comforting, especially if you have a boss like him, at least there's no firing culture. So people are very relaxed. But but when you start something, it's a very uncertain journey. A lot of risk. There's a good chance you will fail, especially in country like India. Like people look for more stability. It's still a risk-averse society compared to, let's say, more Bay Area culture. It's not very entrepreneurial just yet. We are doing slightly better than what it used to be a decade ago. So I want to know about your journey, right? So you left your job, you left your, you were postdoc, PhD? Postdoc. To start this cool startup that will make dye or create these novel product for these molecular biology labs. So how was your journey, and what were those frustration, pain, local life science ecosystem, government support, or finding talent? So if you talk about this, because I have many painful stories.
Yeah.
When we started SciSport, right? You are excited for a few weeks, and then you realize now you're stuck, right? You already announced it, and you have to make it work. You have no option, right? And if you're mission driven, then it's almost impossible to leave it.
True.
Right. So would love to know more about your journey, starting this biotech startup from scratch in India, Bangalore.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you go from super good to suicidal depression. Okay. So for me, it was absolutely difficult because IT service management is one of the most profitable businesses in the segment. If you look at ServiceNow revenue, it will speak for itself.
It's a public company now, right? So
ServiceNow is the leader in IT service management. Before that, it was BMC, and then there are a couple of what we call of the top 5 players: BMC, CA.
right.
I think some of, Manage Engine, which is Zoho's part, does enough of IT service management, but there are eventually close to 20, 30 players, or eventually more than 500 to 600 players with difference in help desk or IT service management as a whole. So that is the kind of a very profitable business. And eventually everybody kind of, if you look at the Zoho Mafia who kind of came out, so everybody did a variation of what Zoho did.
We call it Zoho Mafia, like PayPal Mafia.
Yeah, that is a Zoho.
I like it. Yeah.
If you look at, there are enough people publishing about the Zoho Mafia. So what the Zoho Mafia did was they understood that Sridhar was never going to go public, which is Zoho was never going to go public. So if you kind of come out with a team of players, that is you plus your cricket buddies come out and start something similar that Zoho did.
Cricket, the Indian sport.
No, in Zoho, there are a lot of people play cricket teams.
So they have entire clubs.
So eventually the cricket teams became companies. Or lunch tables became different companies.
Okay.
So eventually what people did was they understood that Zoho was developing products in, B2B SaaS, in IT service management, in WebNMS, which is network management.
You didn't like any cricket team there?
No, I was not part of any cricket team. I had a different calling.
So you were the captain of the some team.
No. Eventually what people did was, the VCs wanted a game and whatever playing. Eventually people came out and did a replica of what Zoho was doing. Some of them came and did AD, Active Directory Management software. Somebody did MSP. One person did, Freshwork eventually did CRM and
non-compete
management. There is a case against Freshworks by Zoho. I think eventually it got an out-of-court settlement.
Also, Freshwork founder worked for Zoho?
Yeah.
Okay.
Girish was my boss.
I see.
Girish Matraputo. So that was the common norm. So I wanted to I took a lot of time to do something unique. So, eventually the software game was like this. After a point, I think you have to get out of India. So I also got to Australia.
Right.
I got almost... I was on the path to get a PR and the process to get it. And then I realized this is not me. Okay, I wanted to try the idea out. I wanted to do this. So that's when we thought that we'll work on this idea. And then...
How many years you lived there?
No, I just went there. In about 30 days, I figured out that I don't want to continue. Eventually, the job offers that I was getting was in the same field as I was in IT service management in companies like Sun Insurance, where I had to implement IT service management. So that was really not the game that I wanted to live.
So they say you need to spend at least 2 years to like the place. Okay. Because you establish some comfortness, right? You have your workout place, you have your yoga place, you have your friends, your network. So generally what I realized every time I changed the place, I didn't like it. I liked it first few days and then I started hating it until I established some comfort zone. So maybe if you had stayed in Australia for
No, I think before that, I actually used to travel a lot as part of my job. One of the things that really hit me was when I traveled to Israel. Okay, I'm not sure if you've been to Israel. So when I traveled to Israel, I found that everybody in Israel was working towards making it. None of them were from there, and everybody had, most of the people I met, some of them were from US, some of them was from Russia. I mean, you could eventually meet people around the world, get there, and everybody was, one of them was working in Clarion, an Apple fellow, and he said that I'm here to make Israel the great place in software. One of them was just driving a taxi, and he said that he's actually a well-educated guy. He's saying that there is a taxi problem here, I'm solving this problem. We went to a restaurant, he said there is no good kosher restaurants here. I'm doing this as a service to people. I mean, eventually they were rebuilding a country after being so successful in the US. They could really continue their life in US and still be something. But they said that they are here to build their home. Okay. So, but eventually I thought that we should do something towards that. I don't know, I had a call like that. I thought that I should do something like that to build something worthwhile with the time given to us.
Very inspiring. But so, I want to know more about your journey.
Yeah. After that, so that is when I came back after that. When I started, when I told people, I think for 2 years until we got initial results, we told that we are in stealth mode. I told everybody that I'm not going to tell you what we are working on. After 2 years, I'll tell you what we're working on, something worthwhile. So, I mean, eventually when we got early results and told people that I'm working on a dye, people really told me that I was crazy. No kidding.
Yeah.
Really, not crazy as in
probably thought
crazy as in I want to take you to a doctor. Okay.
They probably thought hair dye.
No. We told them it's a DNA-based dye.
Like,
so what people did was, why are you taking the difficult path? Okay, why can't you do something which will make you quick buck? It was because eventually life is a get rich quick scheme. Okay, it doesn't matter how you do, just get rich quick, and after that everything is going to be happy. That's kind of a theme that everybody was rolling with. I don't know, I thought there is destiny, there is calling, you have to do something that really brings out yourself and all that, and I was doing that. So the earlier part of the life, I think, forget others saying that we were crazy. IAC was saying that we were crazy because we went and presented. I think the first presentation, I remember presenting it to IAC and saying that we have a food grade safe dye, and one of them comes out and says that, come on man, I'm in the lab, I'm already wearing all the precautionary measures.
I don't need to eat.
You think I'll take it off and then put my hands in your dye just because you're safe? I think that's not good enough. We'll go work on something else useful. Okay, but I don't know, we couldn't let it go. Okay, but we told them that this is what is going to change everything in terms of DNA testing, in terms of understanding it. I think he spent some time understanding about what we did, and he's our current advisor right now in Azooka. So Dr. C.V. Natraj, he was the one who rejected us.
Really mad.
But eventually, looking at what we have made, he understood what we were going after and eventually came to be our advisor. He's the one who helped us with synthetic chemistry in developing all the things. So earlier days was very, very crazy because you know that in 5 years you're not going to roll a product out. Mm-hmm. Okay, and luckily ISC gave us 5 years of incubation. So that is, eventually they take care of everything, right from your insurance to your health insurance, everything is covered. You're almost
5 years.
Yeah.
You get stipend too?
No,
you have to.
But it's for equity. You have to share some equity.
We have to share equity. How much is it, if I can ask?
I think that
it ranged 5 to 10%.
5 to 10, like a YC model.
Yeah.
Okay. YC model. And they don't give any cash, right? It's just lab space.
Seed grant. They gave us lab space, internet, telephone, health insurance.
And what's the range? Like how much they typically invest in startups for 5 to 10%?
No, mostly they, that I'm not sure. I think it depends on.
Like 100K.
Range, you can give a range, not 100K.
I'm really not sure.
100, it will be somewhere between $10,000 to 25,000.
I see, small range.
Small, yeah.
I see.
But eventually, the part of everything comes as a whole package.
But how do you guys basically pay yourself as a founder of an R&D focused company? Like, how do you pay yourself before any revenue, before any investment?
Okay, from the grant, you can actually take a salary. She can take a salary because she's a PI. Okay.
She's R&D.
Yeah, she's R&D. I couldn't take a salary. So
You can do some pipetting work.
no, but I was not allowed inside the lab.
No?
Because we were working with Dr. Savitri's lab. Unless you're a scientist, you really cannot get into the wet lab part of
You
it.
can say I'm citizen scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
It does allow 40% of your grant can go towards that.
I see.
So they are not very particular and very stringent about this.
Right.
Just that you shouldn't exceed the 40%. So we've been surviving on grants for up to when we started making revenues. So most of the grant give you that leverage of 40%. You will not get a good salary, but it's good enough to sustain.
Enough to survive. Enough to get like 3 meals a day.
Enough to survive kind of the salaries you can.
Oh, I'll tell you the plight of scientists in India, right? Especially even from Indian Institute of Sciences. The pay is not equivalent, or the pay is half of the intern's pay in a software company. Half.
Yeah. That's why everyone wants to just
The top scientists in ISC get half of an intern's pay in a software company. And in spite of that, they are dedicated. Most of their work is standing. They have expertise in 3 to 4 subjects, because I tried studying molecular biology in the earlier days. I thought, okay, I can study anything I put my mind into.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought
I like it.
yeah. So I tried studying until eventually I got to know that all of molecular biology is actually chemistry. Okay. So I don't like chemistry that much. The point that it moved from biology to synthetic chemistry and how everything is chemistry, that's when I lost it. I said, if I go and study too much of molecular biology, I'm going to lose my focus. There's no point in me coming to science. Then I told, okay, I'm not going to understand molecular biology or synthetic chemistry. I'm just going to scratch enough to sell it.
Right.
Okay, so that's when we said that we'll stop.
Makes sense. But
Yeah, the other challenges I want to talk about. So another challenge was funding versus actual work. So what happens is, you get some funding, enough to survive in terms of the chemicals you buy, but eventually all the other experiments, for example, if you want to do one round of synthetic chemistry, it's going to somewhere cost you in the range of 60 lakhs to 80 lakhs. Okay, whereas the funding that you get for this kind of work is somewhere going to be in the range of, you can only allocate 30 lakhs to it.
60 lakh, like 70, 80K.
78.
Yeah. So that is the problem when it comes to matching funding versus this. So some of the embarrassing moments is we had to pay the synthetic chemistry vendor, that is Advenus Therapeutics. The grant says that we call the grant office. They say that, we'll grant it in 2 weeks. Okay, I think you know how the grant office works. And we tell them, Sunil, we'll tell Advenus saying that, okay, in 2 weeks we're going to settle your amount. So what happened was the grant didn't come on time. So, which means that we had given a blank check to Advenus Therapeutics, and I'm getting a notice saying that you're going to be arrested in like 7 days' time.
They can arrest you.
Yeah. You can do it.
Yeah, in India, yes. Your check bouncing is a very serious crime. Very serious crime. Very serious financial crime.
You could get arrested.
You can get arrested. Very true.
You could
Not
go
very forgiving. It's,
we are also not. Yeah, true. We both of us got notices.
so meaning I'm not going to write check to anyone.
Yes, be careful. Same for me. Same for me.
Legal notice.
Yeah.
Notice. We were about to
It's a very serious. For me, it was a blood bank bouncing check. More so.
Yeah.
Blood bank, NGO, social organization, check bouncing. I, as being a CEO, that is the price you pay. You get love letter in your personal name.
Exactly.
Not in the name of the company.
Yeah.
It comes in your name.
Yeah, it's in your name.
It's in your name.
Yeah.
As if you have stabbed someone.
Wow.
And I think the CEO was kind enough to say that, Alex, I've sent you. Notice I can't do anything.
Yeah. They can't stop it.
I
It's
can't
a
do
process.
anything about it. Yes. It's a process. He was very friendly.
Yes,
He
yes.
called and informed that we have no choice. please make payment arrangements or else you're going to jail. So that was a very tough situation to be in.
Yes.
So lesson learned is for Indian founders, don't write a check. You know?
No, I mean, they eventually will get a check from you for your payments against guarantees.
Blank.
Because you are getting in kind of a credit of 60 lakhs, right?
I see.
They are working on a credit of 60 lakhs. You're going to tell them, I will get a grant from the government. Here is the grant letter. Please work on it. I'll pay you on such a date, right?
Right.
So they are working with you on an agreement that you're going to make a future payment.
Right.
If you miss on the payment, they are going to roll out the process.
Well,
So we were very close. Luckily, IKP, another organization, came out, gave us the check on time to save us. And the grant check came, I think, a bit later. So we were closely.
so life of a founder is harder in India. That's
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
Impossible. It's not hard,
Definitely.
it's impossible.
Much harder, much harder.
Yeah. Would you do it again if you knew that was going to happen? Would you do it again if you go back in time and you have a memory of what's going to happen? Would you start Azooka again?
Probably I would do it totally differently. I would do a software company, get an exit, and then come back and do biotech.
Very smart.
Very good one. Yeah. Very true. Yeah.
Because there are some, not only problems like this, okay, problems like social problems, family problems, people. I think both my parents are from government. My dad was in the government.
Very stable.
Treasury, yeah.
I'm sure they are still
Very
mad at
stable
you.
job. They never understood why I quit my job. They used to say, you were working for a good company. And I was head of marketing, worldwide marketing at Zoho. Which means I could, eventually my travel was to most locations, all the places where Zoho was expanding. And I was also consulting on ITIL. So I could really do a lot of consulting, get a lot of travel. So my mom couldn't understand. They said, they were taking care of you very well. Used to travel to all the parts of the world. Why would you leave the job? So eventually they thought that I was crazy enough to quit a job or start our own company or something like that. When I told them, no, this is what I wanted to do. This is the product management I learned. This is how I thought that I should do something. Because those days we're learning a lot of product management books, right from, Seth Godin to everybody to build something remarkable and getting it done right. So it was kind of an inspiration. And most of the lunch groups would talk about that, building something remarkable.
Right.
So that's when those are the couple of challenges: getting close to getting jailed, and other things where the social pressures of So some of the things there where people in my hometown will say that So I told them after COVID came that okay, if you want to really know that if I'm doing something useful, during COVID. That's when people got to know about us because we got when people couldn't travel, we got a COVID pass to travel all over.
Nice. Because you were one of the providers.
Yeah, because we are a manufacturing unit and we had to keep it open.
Right.
So after that, I went and told my grandma that, I'm working on something like this and everything like that. Then they said, if you're really working on something, you must have been on TV. So I told her, actually Bloomberg had done my interview and where we had presented about doing this from India. So I sent her the Bloomberg interview
Very proud.
saying that, see, I'm on TV. And she said, why are you not on Sun TV? Which is like,
Sun TV is like local TV.
local TV. Yeah, it's like Tamil Nadu.
What is it?
Yeah. She said, I will not accept Bloomberg. You have to come on Sun TV.
Right. No, I mean, it's very challenging to do a business, even software, right? AI is making most software businesses irrelevant. I'm not even exaggerating. There's hardly any moat, right? So all software companies will have to have some defensibility, right? Whether it's form of some unique set of data or like Y Combinator uses the term full stack AI companies, right? So if you're creating a software for law firm, you don't just provide a software to law firm, you become the law firm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you become the law firm and you compete with existing, right? That's one way to stay relevant in this AI revolution. Other way to remain relevant is you create your unique set of data sets. So you can train AI model and build some really unique application or something that ChatGPT cannot solve, right? So you can have very specialized, for example, biotech companies. So they generate unique set of data. They can use public data, but value of original data sets, unique data sets is way more than it used to be, right? So authenticity is becoming more important. Unique data sets is becoming more important. Things that AI cannot replace. Like even if you see reporters in media, news, live reporting will become more important because that's unique perspective, unique data that AI cannot make up. Software, building a software company is becoming harder too. And they will have to have some deep tech element to remain relevant too.
Yeah, I think as we progress right from perception AI to Gen AI, what is happening is the software experts are probably going to be getting onto the fewer segment. Okay, so what you're actually telling is the domain experts will have a role to play big time. Okay, domain experts directly dealing with AI to build the software.
Like bio and AI, best partners.
Yeah,
right?
I think the biggest problems that we've not solved is the disease problems. Okay, because disease have volumes of data, volumes of research that has to be done, and all this had to be brought together in a convergence in order to solve certain problems. I think that is what bio will focus on in the future, and I think it's going to make a lot of bio more accessible to people. So earlier, what was considered for example, let's take domain experts like scientists. So they had an aversion towards the actual software building as in coding or something like that, because they were solving a lot of real first principle science problems, a lot of chemistry problems, a lot of data problems that is coming from the device. This is how a scientist life is, where you have to manage with a lot of data. Eventually, they don't even actually like even Excel like tools. They hate it. Okay. Forget
You provide software.
Forget using all the data analysis tools to come up with an opinion. Now what AI is doing is just point them onto the Google Drive folder where you have the data and it is coming to conclusions.
Not Google Drive. Passport, when
eventually you're going to point to a data location and it is kind of coming up with the inference engine. I think the future will be very exciting for biotech and pharma companies because they're going to be using this to solve vertical domain problems. In our case, I think we are trying to solve, let's take for example, how it is going to impact our own case problems, right? Right now, we are having DNA-based data. That is, when you take a DNA test, you get a DNA sequence data. Now, each of this is like 5 to 10 TB of data that comes out.
Like next-gen sequencing?
NGS sequencing.
So you perform these NGS experiments in-house?
No, we give the tools for our customers to perform the NGS sequencing, right? We give the sample collection kits and everything. Right. And some of the times people share this data with us saying that, eventually look at the yield that is coming out of your extraction kits versus sample collection kits versus how stable our sample collection kits were then when they were trying to send it to their customer and get back. So there is a DNA-based data that comes out of NGS. Now, on top of this, now you are going to do a metagenomics data, which is coming out of your microbial. Now you have to align this, right? Now that is where now spatial genomics is coming into place, where you're trying to integrate your wearables data, you're getting your DNA data, you're layering it on top of your microbial or metagenomics data to make sense of it.
100%. I think
the future, I think if you look at the future of Apple Health or any health apps, right now, what are you getting in your health data? It has got nothing to do with your genomics or real-time data, right? Eventually, you're getting heartbeat and things like that. I believe the future will be a genomics-backed data set that is going to get onto your mobile phones.
Totally. And not just genomics, right? So, yeah, you get data.
Omics.
Yeah.
Omics data.
Yeah, you get data from your variables, right? Like you mentioned, your heart rate and sleep data and other things. I think magic will happen, like you said, when you connect this with omics data, especially like more your gut health,
Yeah.
right? Your immune profile, your gene profile, all of that combined together. That's when we will be able to proactively prevent diseases.
Yeah.
Same thing. This is human health in the lab world where we work on science and bring life-saving product to market. Like that's what we do in the lab, right? So we do R&D, hopefully bring scientific breakthroughs. But the ultimate goal is when you do research, you want to bring some application to market, whether it's in the form of human health drug or diagnostic product, or animal health, plant health in the form of pesticides and fertilizers. So, but currently most labs are not in good health. What I mean by that is they, like all the data they are generating is stored across hundreds of Google Sheets, spreadsheets. I think magic happens when you connect this data, just like health data, lab health data, you need to standardize data model. You need to make that data ready for AI, right? Generally, data should be well connected, stored in graph database. And I think every biotech will have to prioritize it sooner or later, whether they do it in-house or use external SaaS offering.
Yeah, another reason that people are, and there's a problem in the adoption is earlier when you're getting these grants from BIRAC, big or from DST, right?
BIRAC is?
Oh, sorry. What is BIRAC? You want to?
Technology industry.
It's some industry.
Yeah, it's an
It's a
industry.
biotech, Department of Biotechnology, they issue the grants. It is called the Biotechnology Industrial Research
Assistance grant.
Assistant Grant, something
Got
like
it.
that.
Okay, so there are a lot of bodies that give you these grants, and these grant bodies actually give you a guideline on how you can spend these grants. For example, you can spend 20 to 30% on human resources. You can spend this much on lab consumables. Under that head, right, software is not there.
We should talk to Modi ji.
Yeah.
Eventually, I've been
No,
fighting.
I think it's not only that. I think it's also some inherent quality of biologists. Okay? Biologists are not very comfortable using software tools or
very true.
human the computer as such.
Yeah.
Maybe they are not trained in that manner, at least in India. I personally have that problem, and I also see that in a lot of people we hire and my colleagues, that there's a natural aversion towards using computers and software tools. So, which is very difficult for us to break into. I can give you a personal example of myself, right? Once I look at the black terminal, my mind switches off. I just want to quit the system.
Right.
I just don't like it.
Like some code editor.
Yes. I don't have a reason for it. But that's something I can never comprehend. Right? So I think because we are used to doing experiments, used to correlate a lot of things and understand things from a real working principle and mechanism, something with just codes or something with just zeros and ones doesn't make sense to us.
Totally.
And that's also a natural resistance that we have sometimes in using software tools, until and unless they are very user friendly, they are very very easy to use and very appealing to use. Or if you're able to bring that wow factor in the first click that we do, then you get that liking towards it. Sometimes it's also that.
Totally.
I think training of a bench worker is a blue collar job, quote unquote.
Glorified.
Right. And see, it's a training of a doctor and an engineer. Engineer can sit in his air conditioned room, can design the airports, bridges, roads, everything. But a patient is lying on the operation table. He cannot go back to the book and refer where to give a cut.
Right.
right? So the trainings are very different.
Not ChatGPT.
Not ChatGPT as well. So it's very different. Same for the bench worker. Typically, bench workers, they go, and it's an entire training process. It happens very slowly, unknowingly, you get into it. And mostly what we go through the bench working, you do an experiment, you pass or you fail. It works or it doesn't. So there is a litmus test for us to see that yes, we did this, color did not show up. We did this, filtration did not happen. So there is a reasonable way to assess that it's working or it's not working. But typically when you go beyond the bench working kind of thing and go into the statistical modeling, molecular modeling, and so on and so forth, for us that visibility is not there. What that software is doing to the data, right? So if you look from that perspective, and also the biology is a science of uncertainty, right? Today, your cholesterol and tomorrow's cholesterol is not going to be the same.
That's
Right,
why
so-
they make great partners, because biology, there's billions of years of evolutionary forces. There are many variables, so
Exactly.
many uncertainties, and that's the zone of genius of AI,
Right.
because that can help you reduce those variables.
So now that marriage has to happen in a very meaningful way, where a doctor or a scientist can understand the dilemma of a doctor, a clinician who is making the diagnosis or prognostic card. How this data has come to this conclusion. Because see, at the end of the day, a scientist must know that how his or her work is leading to it and how this data is being interpreted into that system.
Right.
So that difficulty at this moment is there. At least in India, I would say that comfort hasn't arrived. And I see as a first student in biomedical engineering in India, I had a great difficulty. My one guide was a physician, and I was working on the problem of cardiac dynamics. And my co-guide was a mechanical engineer. So my guide, who was a physician, had a very romantic feeling of heart, filled with love and blood. And this mechanical engineer, my co-guide, would say, heart is a pump, it pumps the blood. Very crude, So now for him, it was a pump. And the variable part of a pump was a mechanical pump. And here, there were 200 variables in a human heart. And I have traveled through that. I did many experiments. I failed. They said, no, Ranjeet, this will not go this way. So that marriage still is not happened in a very, I would say, in a cohesive way, but it will eventually.
Right, but I think to make any marriage work, there are only different ways, right? So we have machines, then we have humans. How will you bring them together or make sure marriage happens? You either make machines more like humans, right? Or like last decade or two, we tried to make humans more like machine. That didn't work. Right now, the hope is, can you make machines more human-like and bring them together, right? So that's missing. Or other option is you just don't even try to make that happen. You just focus towards the promised land, which is self-driving lab. So scientists are more orchestrator, giving feedback, checking things, making sure AI is not going out of control, and automate it at the next level, right? So, but in the interim, we just need to figure out wet lab data is accessible to computational people, right? How do you make it in as easy way as possible? Can you automate it? Scientists will be open to use systems if it is very easy, right? Instrument data, if you automate it, right? So that's the goal. You have to really reduce change management efforts by automating things and finding it really easy for scientists to input data, maybe leveraging voice assistant in the future. They can just speak what protocol deviations they made at the bench, right? So we have to make it easier. That's the job of tech enablers.
I think that is already coming in.
Yeah.
What is happening is, I think earlier there were independent software vendors who told you, get me the data, then I'll get analytics out of it.
Right.
Now, if you look at ONT's latest release of their ONT, Oxford Nanopore, ONT.
Sequencing.
So there is a ONT is Oxford Nanopore Technology. They have their own mini sequencer. Their latest one comes with an AI chip. Okay. So it's only a matter of time they kind of get a ChatGPT wrapper onto their reporting tool. So what is complicated for you to export the data out of ONT and then put it inside a data analytics tool to get it. Actually, what is the data analytics tool doing? It's a wrapper on top of ChatGPT.
Right.
Eventually, ONT will come up with it so that you don't even have to pull the data out and do this. Eventually, I think device vendors will start integrating AI wrappers onto their platform. So that way, you don't have to. Now, I think there is an MCP protocol that is also coming where AI devices can talk to each other. Interoperability.
You still have to connect this with experiment metadata though, right? So you still need wet lab scientists to share some observational at the bench, the data they generated, they made some deviations, they changed few things because there's a reproducibility crisis in the industry, right? One scientist cannot even reproduce their colleagues' work. Why? Because they're missing context.
But you are putting it inside a lab note and only then you are starting an experiment, right? Eventually, it's a matter of connecting more than one data source.
Yeah.
So probably they'll have to start with the lab note, connect the sequencing or whatever processing. If it's a PCR device, you connect it to the PCR device, connect the lab note data that gives you the whatever experiments, materials, methods use, and then you derive at this.
Nice.
So when you're going at a point of what we call as a AI convergence, eventually you have data on multiple sources, which is locations on the cloud. Right. So eventually I'll have to say that from this cloud to take data from here, take the experimental data from here, take the notes from here. If you can connect the notes from the mobile phone of the scientist, map it with this and eventually come out with this. I think the real adoption will come when instrument vendors start implementing AI into their own software packages.
Or a data lake talking to instruments. Makes sense. But again, it's a two-way interaction, right? Instrument, you have to send data to instrument. If it's a plate reader, you have to design the plate, right? So there's input and output. So
the device is already processing it. Okay, let's take a PCR.
Right.
Any PCR device. So when you go to the PCR menu of the operating PCR, you will see data output there in the smaller screen of operating the PCR.
Right.
What I'm saying is maybe it will take 2 more release cycles for the device vendors to figure out that why should another independent software vendor take my data and do that? I might as well put an engineer and integrate AI into my device.
Right.
That's when the scientists are not taking another step, but the AI is integrated into their own device so that they will not think about it. Imagine a day when you are going to press a button icon on the device and talk to it.
Right.
It's not far away. Okay, you're doing it to fridges, you're doing it to washing machines, putting it on a scientific device is not far away.
No, 100%. I think that can be a great approach. But the real power comes when all types of data is connected, right? In the lab, you don't just use one instrument. The reason there's like generally middleware, because it brings all the data, harmonizes it. So AI can read off that. What you're saying is spot on for one instrument at a time, right? That's one way to increase adoption. But if you really want to create the digital brain of a lab, you have to collect data from different instruments. It's different formats too. So you have to harmonize it, right? You have to normalize it and then feed to AI.
Coming from software, I will say that middleware was dead 10, 15 years ago. Okay, right then, long back, there was a middleware that used to do this. And now later, even 10 years back, they figured out that once this cloud and cloud processing pipes came into place, they said, put a JSON feed on everything, push it onto a cloud pipe. Later we'll process it. So that kind of killed all the middleware. There was once upon a time BEA, WebLogic, JBoss, all of these were $1 million companies that was giving something called as management middleware. Okay, Zoho used to sell plugins for this middleware. Then when later cloud came, what is the cloud? I mean, you are going to put, let's take even an IoT device. What does IoT device do? You just put a forwarding, just pack it into a JSON, push it onto a cloud. I will take it from there and then read it.
But overall, when we see these businesses, startups, when I speak with founders, they are excited about current focus on biotech. They are excited about current focus in semiconductors. Government is heavily investing on it. They are excited about manufacturing, right? So if you see Apple, Trump is not happy about it, but at least they are hoping that India will become a next biggest manufacturer. So all the iPhones they make, most of them will be made in India. That's their hope, but I'm not sure that the geopolitics will allow that. What about like what are the negatives of it? Like what are the challenges? Because in biotech there are some like companies we have few success stories like Biocon, big CROs. We had our own vaccine for COVID, Covishield, what do you call it? Right, but we are not really seeing like Genentech from India. We are not seeing culture bioscience from India, like contract biomanufacturer. We are not seeing Thermo Fisher from India, like headquartered. They also have subsidiaries here. So what are the challenges? What are those bottlenecks?
Yeah, I think, like you rightly said, right, although Bangalore is the biotech capital of India, I think the sector of your biotech domain you are in plays a significant role. Like you said, manufacturing, CROs, or other services companies have been doing greatly well, and the ecosystem is mature and well developed. But like you rightly said, there's no company like a Genentech from India, right? Because it's more of innovation driven, product driven, which needs more patience. I think the biggest challenge here for us is patient capital. Right, access to patient capital is something that's a bigger challenge.
Meaning?
There has been a good advancement in terms of grants and funding and support from seed to sapling stage.
Right.
Right, that gap has been really filled well. So enough ecosystem support, enough grants, enough angel investors for early stage. Right,
Scaling?
For scaling, I think biotech companies or product companies do not have access to growth capital, and I think that's a real bottleneck, right? And we see a lot of startups failing once they reach the growth stage in India, especially in the biotech sector. I think that's a real challenge that we face, probably due to many reasons, right? One is, like you said, there are no success stories from India, right? So it's very difficult to gain investor confidence because you're not able to showcase a success story where a product from India has gone to a global scale from the biotech domain. The second is most of the investors are from the technology background or the software background, and they have some inhibitions in investing in a domain that they are not very familiar with. And yes, and it takes time, right? There's a long gestation period when it comes to biotech companies, and by the time they exist, it maybe 7 to 10 years, and that kind of a growth capital is a big bottleneck. But having said that, I think sometimes personally as a co-founder of a biotech startup, I feel we've got used to navigate these challenges by working with minimal resources. I think that's kind of, helping us with a lot of jugaad, as you call it in Indian. Learning to work with minimal resources, actually, I've seen that it helps in simplifying your solutions as well. Right. Sometimes me being a scientist, I used to have a big ego that you have to work on cutting edge technology. You have to work on something that's really great, and only then it's worthwhile. But what this journey taught me was solutions have to be simple. People really don't care about the technology behind it, right? As far as the solutions are simple. I think that's kind of also bringing the focus on solving problems with minimal resources, which has helped Azooka to really work wonders with unit economics. Our unit economics are really good because we've been working with minimal resources, right? So we don't have... No, we don't have the leverage to really splurge on anything. So you have to...
is a good example,
Yes.
right?
You don't have that leverage, right? So you're constantly working on minimal resources. So which means that you build products with really... so it has really helped me if I look at the other side of it.
Yeah.
But yes, if there is good patient growth capital, it definitely there will be a lot of success stories from India.
Yeah, I mean, all the founders I'm meeting locally, I think they are really smart. Right? The way they run operations, the way they negotiate, I mean, I'm really impressed with the quality of founders and biotech.
I think
Medicine.
India is a very resource crunch environment if you look in principle. And resource crunch environment itself, you need to operate and function in very different way. And if you look at the overall biotech industry in India, it is struggling one part is on the regulatory part. Still the process of getting the approval, whether it is for A or the RCGM or clinical trial, it takes forever. So one end you are having limitation on fund availability and resource and so on and so forth. On the other end, you are waiting for 2 years to get an approval. So that must get changed. Yeah. That's the topmost priority, if you ask me, more than money.
Like regulatory approval?
Absolutely. It's a very, very multi-window process and it takes forever.
So what's the solution? Expedited?
No, it should be one window clearance and the committees and so on and forth. They should work not once in a quarter basis. They meet once in a quarter. So if you miss this quarter cycle, you go to the next. And if there is a one spelling mistake, it goes to the next quarter. And that's
Indian FDA?
Yeah, correct. And it's a one spelling. I'm genuinely saying it's not a technical error. And you can Google it. There's a recent case on that account spelling mistake. Right. So the regulatory system must really technically get qualified to help the innovators, startups to hold their hand. And if required, it can be a different track for helping a startup on the regulatory path rather than big companies because they are at a liberty of resources and so on. So forth. Second part, I think India must also figure out a way of funding these organizations in a more realistic way rather than in a more traditional way. If you give a fund to established company, they can fall in line and spend the money the way you want it. But for a startup, they have to juggle around with A resource and B resource.
Right.
So that's the second part. Third, I think in the context of India, if you took a biotech industry, also industry has to look real life problems so that government gets really say, yeah, probably this is answering the question what we as a government, as a political statement, we are facing it. So I think that's also required. I'm not saying the basic research is not required. It's required. But having said that, there has to be a visibility if you look from the government perspective, from the establishment perspective. Fourth and the last, I think we also need to not copy the model of West. And we need to make the model which will work for India. And I'll give you an example, Amul story. When we got independence, the major problem was availability of food. And because of that, you will see a lady will have 15 kids, 13 kids, 10 kids. Because the rate of survival was so low. So at that point in time, Prime Minister said, how do I deal with it? And the major issue was availability of milk. Because mother's milk or non-availability of milk is a huge impact on the RCH. Right?
RCH?
Reproductive child health.
Right.
So they will produce more children. In turn, it will affect the health of mother and child both, and so on and so forth. So now the story comes. This George Korean, he was sent to Switzerland to understand the dairy industry, how to get more milk. So this guy goes to Switzerland to understand the dairy industry. He goes there and he says, oh, my dear friend, all the way you come from India to understand the dairy industry. It's very simple. Have 20-acre land, 50,000 cows, milk them out. It's all done. And now in the context of India, where is that farmer who will have 20-acre land and 50,000 cows? For Indian farmer, there are 3 cows. If his daughter is getting married, 1 cow will get sold. That's a fixed deposit. Right?
That was a fixed deposit.
That's a fixed deposit, right? And they said, buffalo milk and cheese, forget about it. It will never happen. And rest is the history. This guy, Korean, comes to India. He starts with 247 liters of milk in Anand near Ahmedabad. And now it churns more than 20 million liters of milk every single day. And sells the cheese in Switzerland and France.
Nice.
Right. So what I'm trying to say, our sustainability lies from a global perspective with the local solution, whether it is on regulation, whether it is on funding, whether it is a problem of healthcare. Like tuberculosis still is a problem in India, which is a rare disease in the US.
Right.
Diarrhea is still second killer in India. In China, it is irrelevant.
And the reason is?
Because of the public healthcare system.
Right.
We are exposure to the various public healthcare challenges. So I think there is an issue with the companies also. They also need to look at more local problem, local solution, much more tailor-made, so that it's this is what I faced when I started plasma work. Government said, we don't know what plasma is. So I spent 3 years to educate government what plasma is all about. They did not know whether plasma makes any sense. They said, no, we'll not allow you to do anything. The simple statement comes from the government, because of the political reason, we will not do it. Because in government, if you don't do anything, nobody is going to hang you for it. But if you do something which goes wrong, you are on the hook. Right? So you have to provide that support to the government. And I must say that regulators, ministers, cabinet ministers, they were very, very receptive. When I told them, this is what can happen, this is how India will get benefit, this is how a patient will get the benefit of these medicines. Oh, they were nightmares, sleepless nights and whatnot. But yes, that journey is worthwhile. So I think industry also need to spend time and not look very myopically, does it solve my problem? They need to come together, talk with the government. I know it looks very simple and straight. No, it's not. I took 3 years to get first permission. Eventually 3 years, I went to Delhi, and today I'm telling you how to write a letter, and tomorrow you send me the letter. So today you are student, tomorrow you are invigilator, next day you are report card reader. So I think that journey has to happen and mature in our country.
I agree. I think most new startups we are seeing, they are replicating US model.
Yes.
Right. So I really agree with you. Right. We need to solve unique problems in a unique way.
No, I think, in my opinion, right, if you want to replicate the model in a full sense. At least give the same funding as a US startup would get. For example, let's take most of we've been lucky enough to get most of the funding from the startups, but I would like to say that the startup funding has remained same for 15 years. Okay, it's the same, the quantum of amount.
Yes.
Say, for example, if it was 50 lakhs 15 years back, it has remained same 15 lakhs for 15 years.
Just to inflation.
It is not adjusted to inflation or the cost that has come out. So, I think I've raised this point several times saying that, 15 years back, it was something, but for today's research, it is not enough. But there is no sounding board at all.
Right.
There is no, for example, we applied for a few grants.
Right.
And I was waiting for the results. We saw that a couple of companies have got selected. I wanted to know why they didn't publish the results. Okay, if you take any system, you're supposed to publish the results. And they didn't. And somebody like Patanjali, we lost to Patanjali Pharma. Okay. So I wanted to understand what did they do different that we are really doing. But we don't, there is no sounding board. In any system, you need to have a place where you can complain about the system, something to find a resolution for problems. Such a place is not available. And even if you raise a genuine request saying that why my application was not done or why I didn't get a response odd time, it is considered to be a complaint or as if you're going against the system and not giving a chance for the system to improve. That is, if you say anything which is not in the norm, you're against us.
Right.
It is not considered saying that, oh, it's a problem, we overlooked it, we want to fix it. That kind of approach is not there.
Need more
And-
transparency.
Yeah, transparency. And the date of announcement of the grant and the date of receiving the grant, I think, we as a startup went through hell.
You have to wait.
They call you to New Delhi. They call you to Delhi. We got such a big check. We had to bring the check in the flight, and everybody was saying amazing stuff and all that. We didn't get the cash for like 3 months. Okay. 6 months. Okay. So eventually everybody thought that, hey, I saw your picture. You already got the grant. Why are you not paying up, man?
Yeah.
So I said, no, it was just a dummy.
Take this. But it was just a picture. We didn't get the money. We didn't get the beeped.
Yeah. So I think if they kind of, align the PR date with the actual dispersal date, it will be good. I don't think it is still done.
I think this problem is universal.
Universal? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think all these problems of, issue of the grant, application, approval is all regulatory challenge we face.
No, it is not just regulatory challenges. I hope you saw our Minister Piyush Goyal go and talk about what is India's innovation doing. But the point is, look at China, how they're growing. Are you doing enough what China is doing? Okay, you are not. It's like this Indian parent saying that, look at that kid, he's getting good marks. Why are you not getting? Same attitude. Okay, simple, I'll tell you. DPIIT sponsored us to Viva Tech in France. Okay, what we were hoping, all of us were hoping, is that we had fixed meetings when the people visited us. We said that after the event is over, we'll visit you and we'll try to conclude the business following the grant. The Chinese team and the Chinese diplomats got together and formed a visiting team, and they visited all the companies in France, followed by their business. They were able to close deals. You know what happened with the Indian team? The day the show got over, they said, we don't have money. We are going to close all the things. If you want to find accommodation, you're on your own. Vacate the room. You have a few hours left. We told them, what about the delegation? What about all these things? Said nothing doing. No discussion. End of discussion. Over. Okay. I think the DPI team went on their own to visit all the places. But without the startups, I think it was not fair, or it was not a fair ground. No, I think I'm okay if you want to copy some other country, but I think you should do a wholesome copy.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I have a different point of view here, because we will have to believe that this is the Indian landscape, and anything which has to happen to other space. If you talk about China in plasma space, you will not believe the story. I was there in a closed door meeting in China, where I was quote unquote Asian, non-white guy invited in that meeting, 35 people across the China. And the language which the regulator use, you will not believe, which means they're so pro-industry. Yes. They are so active. They are part of you. They are not regulators, right? So that landscape is, but having said that, how they are, we know. But at least I personally feel that, I understand the Chinese industry in my area. I would not like to copy that model. I would never like to copy that model for a variety of reasons. And I think there is another day, another time to talk about it. But in my view, again, I would say this is the landscape of India. And we all, with all due respect, our problems and whatnot, we will need to figure out a way within this space only, because changing the establishment, and I totally agree, 50 lakh and 15 lakh and 10 lakh, it's a very funny stories. I went for one of the plasma product. I was invited as an expert by one of the biotech park, by the MD. Ranjeet, you have to come overnight. Tomorrow day after tomorrow, I have a presentation to XYZ. I flew in overnight at my own cost, being a friend. And when I go there, it's a big biotech part of this country, very big, not small one, more than 500-acre land. I go there, I meet the managing director. He said, Dr. Ajmani, I have allotted 20 lakh rupees for this project. I said, okay. I was thinking what to answer. I said, 20 lakh means what? He says, what is the project size? 100, the 100,000 liter plant? how much will it cost? I said 250 crore, about 25, 30 million US dollar. No, I allocate 20 lakh rupees. I said, even not peanuts. Right. So this, I returned back so disheartedly. I thought tomorrow I'm going to have a revolution, right? And the world will change in that state. So even at that level, MD, managing director of a biotech park, had no clue about it. But then I realized there's no point complaining. Not that we should not ask for the change, not that we should not inspire that India should change. It must and it should at all accounts at every time and any time. But unfortunately, our maturity is not there. Political, bureaucratic, social, and so on and so forth. So maybe many times I see whatever work I have done, I will not see in my biological life, its endpoints. But so it be.
No, the point is not you getting upset. The point is it drives away the innovators.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Maybe you have the resilience to
Sure.
face such a thing and go. But sometimes, I'll tell you one of my cases, okay. We developed a sample collection kit for tuberculosis. Okay. The government is importing sample collection kits for tuberculosis from a company called as Longhorn from US. The product is called Prime Store MTM. It is at $2 per tube. Okay. We proposed an amazing price of same price of what, we said we really have to bring a revolution, and we priced it at 20 rupees. We priced it at the price of a water bottle, something very, very essential. But it required only one thing. You need to place at least 10 lakhs in advance of product placement, and you have to place a 10 lakh order for me to arrive at the 20 rupee price. This was the only thing. So I thought that we have done something really superb, and everybody in the committee is going to be happy with it or something like that. And when I was presenting about how we have done an alternative for Prime Store MTM from India, and tuberculosis is the biggest problem after COVID-19, right? So we said that we are going to, after COVID, this is our gameplay, and we are going to do it, and we get a disappointment. Can you do it for 5 rupees? Okay. So first I thought that it was like something like joke. I said, you can't do anything for 5 rupees, and I've got somebody repeating the question. No, I really mean, can you do it for 5 rupees? Then we pulled out of the tuberculosis project.
For free?
Yeah. You can't do anything meaningful in 5 rupees. Okay. And this is how I think some
should have started at 50 rupees.
No, we did start at 50 rupees. I said with
Maybe 100.
Yeah. But you will come eventually. I mean, when you want to create an impact, you should understand that the price of the sample collection kit will be amazing if you start at 50 rupees. Sure. Eventually, they didn't want to buy. Yeah. They're okay to pay an American company $2.
Yeah.
But they will not pay an Indian company 20 rupees.
And who was the buyer? The government?
I think an agency of the government.
Yeah. It is done through there are a couple of companies in government who operate through the tender mechanisms. Yeah. It's a very complex, even that 70% goes for the technical evaluation, 30% goes for the financial evaluation. Right. I have done multiples of it, and you fail miserably.
Yeah.
You fail miserably, and you fall flat, all your diplomatic skill, technical skill, political skill. You come out crying, nothing else, right? And it feels like you should commit suicide. That's the best option you have. But, this is I worked in NACO in the Ministry of Health for 1 year. And I'll tell you, that story is nothing less than making a film out of it.
Yeah.
You cannot believe the way this entire role, what you said is 200% correct. Can you make it white ways? Can you make 20 rupees? It's unbelievable because of the fact, not that they want 5 rupees. They have no understanding of what you are offering to. I was in a meeting in NACO, and this project is 250 crore rupees, right? And madam is saying, oh, you have not ordered for lunch? There were 25 people, 1:32 in the afternoon. We are, trying to bring a revolution to this country from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then we are all hungry. So madam says, "Arey, lunch ke liye order nahi kiya." So somebody said, "Madam, we have no approval. 250 crore project and 500 rupees we don't have approval." So I jokingly told madam, if we get approval for 6 good coffee mugs, that it will be good enough. So approval part and the entire process is really, well, someone has to be genius Albert Einstein mind to understand it.
Thank you for sharing all of that very bluntly. I appreciate it. I learned a lot. I learned about Indian market. I'm still optimistic, but I do understand there are many challenges. But I think India is going through that transition.
Yeah.
So I hope is in the next decade we will be in a much better state, and we will work on a bioeconomy much more seriously and bring life-saving, life-augmenting products to market and even provide rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like if you see McKinsey report that says 70% of physical goods are going to be manufactured biologically in the next decade or so. So our hope is maybe India will be a biggest contributor because we have all the right ingredients to make it work, all the right talent, skill set. Government infrastructure, regulatory infrastructure need more work. But very insightful. Thank you so much. Very
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.